Hello and welcome to another episode of AI Security Ops with our fine Black Hills panel here. We have Brian Furman, Bronwyn Aker, Derek Banks, and yours truly, Joff Thayer. As I think I already just alluded to, this podcast is brought to you by Black Hills Information Security. If you have artificial intelligence deployments in your organization and you are looking for assessment of those local deployments, we would be more than happy to help you out. So please visit blackhillsinfosec.com and click on the Contact Us link and send your inquiry in. We'd love to hear from you. Today, we are talking about artificial intelligence news of the week. And to kick it off, we are going to start with something that doesn't happen too often, and that is senators introducing an Artificial Intelligence Risk Evaluation Act. Now, I have a personal comment here I'm going to make really quick. I have actually written several letters to my senator in my state, warning them of the coming dangers of artificial intelligence. I don't know if that is featured in this act anywhere. I have not actually gone and looked at which senators are sponsoring the act, but it's an interesting evolution. And, my first thought is politicians struggle to keep up with technology, and we as a team, I think, struggle to keep up with the pace that, in particular, artificial intelligence technology is actually foisting upon us. I mean, does this even have any possibility of succeeding? Was my first kind of gut reaction. But anyway, I'm going to throw it to everybody's like sadly
it's
nodding.
Already too little too late.
I want to throw it over to Bronwyn here for the first comment because I know where Derek's going. So.
No, I mean, we're having trouble. We are struggling to keep up and figure out where are the most likely vectors of attack. What are going to be the most serious issues? And no offense to our respected representatives in Congress and government everywhere, they tend not to be on the cutting edge of anything technology oriented. And if we're having trouble wrapping our brains around what all is going on, I have concerns about their ability to do any better than we do and to enact any type of legislation that will not only address what's really significant, and also I have concerns that they would have the appropriate perspective necessary to write something that is meaningful.
Yeah. One thing that I think is notable, and I'd like Brian Furman or Derek to comment on this one in just a minute, is there is something being recognized here, which I have tried to point out to my local senators plenty of times, and that is the link between artificial intelligence control and national security. In particular, the national security ramifications and what clearly is becoming a world arms race, from my perspective. What are your thoughts on that, Brian Furman?
Yeah, well, honestly, in reading this, the first thing that popped in my mind was ITAR. For those who aren't familiar, it's International Trafficking in Arms Regulations, which is basically the laws that are in place that says that you can't export things to other countries that could potentially be used as weapons against our country or others. In short, I mean, there's a little more to it, but especially if you're doing research in like universities, it comes up quite a bit. Just you got to make sure whatever you're working on doesn't run afoul of those regulations. Because you get in huge trouble. And so that's kind of what comes to mind with this, that maybe that's kind of what they're going for, but it's so vague that it's hard to get a read on. So essentially they're saying that before new AI systems could be deployed, that they need to go through a government oversight process first. And, I'd really like to know more about what does that process actually look like? I mean, what are they looking for? What are they trying to control? What are the risks that they're trying to mitigate? And I mean, do we end up in a situation too where, some businesses are currying favor to get theirs through while others are getting shut down? And I just think at this point, I mean, it's cool that they're trying to address certain, they're trying to address risk, or that they're at least, turning an eye to it. But at the same time, it still just seems a little bit too vague to really understand what's going on here.
Yeah, interestingly, in related information that I'm aware of, historically, the United States has tried to exert control over the proliferation of artificial intelligence technology by placing limits on chip export, right, and controlling the hardware supply chain. There's direct articles and evidence that are out there today of China in particular stepping right around that and just not buying from NVIDIA and the like, and setting up their own fabs and buying from their own suppliers. So I don't think that strategy is going to work either. So do we think any government oversight here at all is going to help security, or is this just going to end up slowing innovation? Derek Banks, what's your thoughts?
I mean, I think that the cat is out of the bag already, right? So I think the current models are so powerful that that you could take one, like even like GPT OSS 120 billion parameter model. You can get an obliterated version of it, and it doesn't have any safety in there. So it doesn't matter what the government says. You can get if you can get your hands on a model. You could, figure out how to do the right math and programming to ablate it. And okay, now all the security controls are gone. Like that information's already out there. Those models are already out there. I asked this, ablated model on my laptop to create me a ransomware campaign complete with code. And man,
it created you an awesome ransomware.
Pretty good.
Complete with code.
And so, and that's just, not me trying as my entire day job of making a weapon out of AI, right? And so, I mean, I think that it's already done. I mean, I do applaud them for trying to do something, but I just don't know that this is going to be any kinds of way effective, right? And I agree with Brian. Like, what are you going to do? You're going to run Garrick against it? Oh, okay. So it passed 4 out of 5 tests. What does that even mean, right? Like, I have serious doubts that this is going to help anything.
I just wonder. I wonder if it's even going to help the information security industry. Sort of bringing it back home for a minute. I have a feeling that legislation is going to focus more on safety, control, and national security, but not necessarily give us any benefit in terms of red teaming or any kind of boost.
Yeah, if you wanted if I was asked right now by the powers that be, like, what would you do? I would try and find the top cybersecurity talent that I could and send them to the big model providers for an audit and just see like what's happening, right? And then do a third party audit of what's happening, and which I know is really invasive. And I'm not talking about like how legally all that happens. I'm talking like, what would I do if you wanted to affect security? Is I would harden the companies that are on the frontier to the point where I would be confident that, you'd really have to work hard to get in. And that's not the impression that I've gotten so far. I mean, this like a couple of months ago, weren't we just talking about model theft when, and thinking that the Chinese probably took ChatGPT's model just from, inference and unlimited API usage that you can get for $250 a month or whatever it was. So I have serious doubts.
and as a technology community, coming outside of information security for just a minute, we're seeing this continued wide-eyed optimism approach towards data science and artificial intelligence model development, very much open source, well, at least open weight, if you like, models being published on, resources like Hugging Face. There are no limits to that. Any researcher in any part of the world can download all of that information, all those data sets, all those models, do whatever they want to do with them. I think the government's starting really on the back foot here.
Yeah, and shout out to Jason Haddix for this joke. I'll give credit where credit's due. Like if I took my laptop right now back to 1985 and showed someone what I could do with that GPT OSS model, they would think that I had artificial general intelligence. They would be like this is magic, right? And so again, the cat's out of the bag.
Yeah. So related to the rapid advance of technology, something that really caught my eye this week, actually maybe even late last week, was Accenture laying off over 11,000 people while investing heavily in AI adoption and consulting. And some of the words that I, heard being said is, some employees refuse to be upskilled in the AI space, and just, I guess those are the ones that are on the street. But this comes on the tail of other very large technology companies, notably Microsoft, laying off thousands of people with the advances in artificial intelligence. Thoughts on this?
The first of many. What is that like? I think it's roughly 30% of their workforce or something like that. Is that so? 11,000. They're like 780,000 folks. Something like that. 20%. Sorry for doing math on air. So I mean, it's significant, right? And so if this truly are folks, like they said that, okay, I refuse to like make my job, better with AI, that's a pretty harsh stance to take. I mean, all about the bottom line kind of thing. I think that this is going to keep happening, and hopefully the drumbeat of us saying, hey, you really should learn some AI skills if you're going to stay in tech. Do you need more evidence?
Absolutely.
And it's going to happen fast.
I mean, to me, it does reinforce the fact that we are seeing a fundamental paradigm shift in the technology industry and in human society as a whole as a result of the emergence of these capabilities. And if you are not on board, you're going to be on the street more than likely. And it's a sad truth, and we're watching it play out. Brian, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, similar thoughts. I mean, it's kind of like the difference between, a word processor comes out, but you refuse to leave the typewriter. I mean, obviously, there are advancements in technology that make the job easier, that help accelerate the tasks that you perform on a daily basis. And so certainly, I mean, I think people just need to realize that if you don't embrace these technologies and the capacity that you can to help work, to help accelerate the tasks of your job, I mean, your skills are basically going to become obsolete. I mean, someone's going to be able to do it faster and I don't know about better, but potentially better as things move, the technology advances and gets better. So it's just a matter of embracing it. And so, I mean, if that's what we're talking, if that was, the gist of it here in terms of, people refusing to embrace the technology, I guess that's one aspect of it. But I'd be curious to know of how much more of this is actual, like just full on job replacement as well, of people with the AI technology. I guess that wasn't quite clear to me.
It seems like that it seems like it's like a part of a strategic shift to try and do more automation and more AI as they move forward, in the future. And it seems like, I think they initially took a stock hit, but it's back on track. I don't know.
Well,
it looks to me like a wholesale culture change in the company and a refocus on this new paradigm and new way of doing things. So it's a dramatic move. Bronwyn, your thoughts?
Historically, employees tend to be one of the most expensive costs for a lot of businesses. And my biggest concern is that Accenture and other companies that are doing these massive layoffs, they're leaping before they've really looked at the full consequences. I mean, I'm seeing more stories about organizations that let a bunch of people go, tried to do a bunch of vibe coding, and then, oh, gee, this didn't work as well as we thought, and then have to bring people back on. And while I understand the drive to make stockholders happy and stakeholders happy by reducing costs, this feels too fast. It feels too abrupt. It isn't incremental. It isn't a phased implementation. It's a chopping block. And I've very rarely seen when that type of activity is performed by any organization and there aren't significant, serious consequences. And I hope they write it out well.
Yeah, so all of you in various ways identified an opportunity that exists for all of us. If you take somebody with deep skills in an industry, maybe they're a senior software engineer, for an example, and that's a really good example, that person, if they are appropriately skilled in artificial intelligence technology, are going to be able to produce amazing results when they complement their deep well of knowledge with artificial intelligence technology. What companies, I think, need to realize is you cannot take somebody with no experience and get the same result out of that coupling of the personnel and the artificial intelligence technology, at least not yet. And so I think that's an important distinction to make and to draw out with these changes. Any other final thoughts?
Well, one other thing is I wonder how much domain knowledge for Accenture is being lost in these layoffs. And within any organization, within any industry, you have deep knowledge of what is necessary in order to have the organization run. And if they're laying off 11,000 people, that's a brain drain. They're doing it to themselves. And the amount of domain knowledge that they're letting go, I don't know if they fully recognize that.
Yep. All right. I think we'll just leave that one alone because it's scary at this point. Let's move on to other scary things. ShadowLeak, zero-click server-side vulnerability affecting ChatGPT deep research agent. Researchers disclosed a critical zero-click server-side vulnerability dubbed ShadowLeak in ChatGPT's deep research agent that can siphon sensitive data from servers without user interaction. The flaw allows attackers to extract data remotely, bypassing endpoint defenses, leaving enterprises at risk. Vendors and organizations are urged to tighten access controls and monitoring for AI tools to process sensitive data. That last sentence makes me laugh out loud almost. Has anybody actually invented DLP solutions for what's happening in AI systems yet? I haven't seen them.
Well, I mean, just take out the for AI systems part and just leave the DLP part. And
Okay. You've got it. This also kind of reinforces a trend that is happening and growing, and that is the ever rapid and increasing adoption of agentic capabilities and the lack of information security attention that's being paid to these implementations as people couple LLMs up to things that can have interactions with external services and data.
So what exactly was the zero-click vulnerability? Like, what is happening here?
So it left it out for whatever reason. That particular article left it out. I had to pull up another one because I knew that I saw another one that went into a little more detail. So what it was is when ChatGPT is connected to enterprise Gmail, basically you could send an email to a person that had like embedded malicious instructions, and when the employee would ask an assistant to summarize the email, or search the inbox, it could ingest, the agent would ingest the message, and then without any other further interaction from the user, exfiltrate out sensitive data, basically to a controlled URL. So it's kind of similar to the email summarizer challenge that.
Okay, now I got it. Thank you, Brian. Because I was like, it just says zero click. I don't understand. So indirect prompt injection.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Well, and as we look at agentic capabilities, and in particular, I've got an upcoming webcast that I'm going to do at the end of this coming month, October 30. It's only September 30, but tomorrow's October, on model context protocol. And one of the huge problems that I have with a lot of these agentic capabilities is the concept of impersonation. And impersonation, when it comes to various agentic servers, MCP servers, whatever you want to call them, having access to tokens, API keys, and taking actions on behalf of people or on behalf of services, it's a really scary space.
Oh yeah, I completely agree. I mean, for me, like until we can solve the problem of separating out trusted from untrusted data, I don't know that I would feel comfortable with an agent being able to take actions on my behalf without me first reviewing those actions. I mean, it's basically like we're just saying that, hey, we still have a blatant SQL injection vulnerability, but just run with it and hope that nobody figures out a way to exploit it. Like,
That's
no,
right.
I'm just not going to use that personally.
I mean, it feels like we've stepped back a decade or more in information security, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it all goes in cycles, apparently.
Yeah.
Everything old is new again.
Yep.
I just don't understand.
This kind of actually ties into the next story too.
It totally does. So let me just segue right into there. Speaking of model context protocol, not surprisingly, and I actually literally facepalmed when I saw this one, there is a malicious MCP server silently stealing user emails by using blind carbon copy with the MCP server to an attacker-controlled endpoint. Now, MCP is Model Context Protocol, and for those that don't know, it does allow you to add agentic actions to LLMs via an MCP client, and the MCP server itself actually advertises out prompt templates and resources and tools, and the tools are the most powerful functionality, and usually tools using some sort of impersonation typically are taking external service interactions with other services such as Gmail, for example. So there's no barriers essentially to me going out there. For example, I'm not going to do this, but I could go out there and say, hey, download my super cool MCP server that manages your Gmail and your calendaring. And I could put all kinds of malicious code into that. And I just have to advertise it as super cool and elite. It's the thing that you've got to have. And it's, effectively a supply chain style compromise, if you like. And actually, on the talking points we have here, it says classic supply chain attack dressed up as AI integration. Right? So, okay. Thoughts from the panel? Anybody? Bueller?
It's a classic thing that we all go through where it's like there's a new innovation. It's like, ooh, shiny, ow, that hurts. And I read the initial concepts of MCP when you first started talking about it, and I love the concept, and I cannot get away from the potential for harm because was security built into it at any point at all?
No. The first iteration of the protocol draft from Anthropic had no security statements that I could see anywhere in it. Now, subsequently, in all fairness, OAuth have come in with RFC that speaks to adding authorization controls around MCP, and there is a whole standard there. And let me tell you, I'll talk all about it in the webcast that I do at the end of the month.
Very much looking forward to that. Very much looking forward to that.
And that's actually an RFC now. I don't have the RFC number just off the top of my head, but it has come in after the fact. As with so many things in information security, people jumped on functionality first and then later thought, oh, God, we have the potential for compromised MCP servers and token impersonation and all this stuff. And maybe we ought to think about security a little bit.
Wait a minute. The internet's a dangerous place.
You're only now figuring that out?
I love the response advice in our article. The response advice says, uninstall, rotate credentials, and verify server integrity. Well, I would probably put on there, just don't install in the first place would have been my advice. But anyway, I'm sorry. I'm waxing on lyrically. Anybody else have any thoughts on this?
I mean, I think I disagree with everybody when I also virtually facepalm and say, even what Bram was talking about, the jobs, I agree that the pace is very fast and these things are going to keep happening. And I would argue that this is why we still have jobs. So I don't think it's going to change. I think we'll bolt on security and then there'll be the next thing that comes out that'll also not have security. And
right. I mean, and there's like a meme in this, right? Sometimes do you find that your job is kind of like wandering through a forest of Band-Aids, right? It's just
like Groundhog Day.
It's like, or whack-a-mole, I mean, it's just, it's so much like that in so many instances. So, okay, do we need stronger package vetting for AI agentic tooling, ecosystems, and integrations.
I mean, can we also do that for Python packages?
Right.
Like, just how about packages altogether?
Or,
Yeah, I mean,
dare we mention Node,
Well-
NPM?
Right. Yeah, I
but
know, right?
who's going to
I mean,
do the
it
vetting?
seems like
Who is going
Yeah.
to do the vetting? And
all the open source people, they're going to do no.
all of the
this is-
unpaid volunteers who are giving their blood, sweat, and tears to something only to be cut out later on when it becomes
We go back to the
profitable.
government regulation thing, right? Like if the government really wanted to help and took advice from people in the security community, I don't know, provide some funding for like a, what do you call it? Like an NGO or whatever. I don't know. Provide some funding that would have a group of people who, as their day job, would go and try and help out like all these packages and things that we rely on that people like, you know, I mean, how many corporate firewalls run open source software but don't pay the open source people anything?
Yeah,
All of
I mean,
them. All of
it's,
them do,
it's,
right?
It's been my philosophical stance and argument with the open source community for years. Everybody, and in information security, actually not with the open source community, but everybody for years has said, "Oh, it's open source. Everybody can read the source code." There's a fundamental flaw in that argument. Everybody can read the source code, but not everybody is capable of understanding it, and everybody generally doesn't read the source code, right? You know, actually, there is an upside here in AI. If you were to go out and use one of the very capable programming models, you can actually perform pretty good source code security assessments on a lot of open source out there today. So there's an AI application here to actually help out in that space. So anyway, we digress. So I'm going to go to the SOC story. The state of AI in the SOC in 2025. Security operations embrace AI. A new study, this one's from Hacker News, shows that SOC teams increasingly rely on AI for triage, detection, engineering, threat hunting, to manage alert volumes and analyst burnout. I personally love this story. This is an upside. It is an advantage. It is something we ought to be doing, and I know we need to be doing in our world, and I'm talking about our immediate company's world, more and more of. Other thoughts on this one?
I mean, I do know that our SOC at BHIS is already leveraging some AI stuff for sure. To do these kinds of things. Are they fully down this road? Well, probably not. Not a lot of SOCs probably are, but I think it just goes back to, again, the original story. If you want to like keep your job, you're gonna have to do these things to just be competitive, right? And so I think it's getting built into products. I think that people are coming up with creative solutions, and I think there's a lot of opportunity here to make the world a better place with these kinds of things. Man, we ended on a bright story. I like
Right.
this.
Okay. So there's one question I do ask, and that is, what are the risks? Do we have a problem with, for example, trusting the output from the analysis too much and experience of the personnel? Is it going to make the SOC more brittle? Are there real risks involved here if SOCs increasingly?
Or data leakage, right? Like if you set it up wrong or something like that. Yeah, absolutely. There are risks for those things. But I mean, at least in our case, and this is for all of Black Hills with AI generated content, is there has to be a human before it makes it in the loop, before it makes it to a customer, right? And so, you know, I think if you're doing those kinds of things, like, yeah, I want you to analyze these 100 alerts and tell me like what you think, but then also I'm kind of going to skim through them too. I'm using it to save time, not do my job, right? So,
well, I'll also say one more thing. I think it also is incumbent upon various managed service security providers and others that are running SOCs out there to lean into developing really strong process orchestration controls around this kind of activity. Because if you build strong controls into this with appropriate checkpoints and safeties in there, then you're going to not only succeed at task acceleration, but you'll also have appropriate human in the loop to make sure things don't go egregiously wrong. So I'm feeling optimistic about it.
And I agree. I think that in the long run, we're still, all of us, making this up as we go along, but I do believe in the long run it will help it make it easier for not only SOC analysts, but threat hunters in general to identify outliers, to help reduce the amount of alert overload that is chronic to those kinds of activities and those types of positions and roles. So I'm in your camp. I think that in the long run, it's going to be very beneficial. And I think it's also necessary. I don't see, with the acceleration and amplification that AI provides to malicious actors, I don't see how the blue teamers are going to be able to keep up without this type of additional tooling to help them do their jobs well.
Yeah. Coincidentally, in the class that Derek and I are teaching next week, this is absolutely, completely an opportunity for me to plug the class at Wild West Hacking Fest, AI for Security Professionals. We have a segment of the class that talks about analyzing logs with a short amount of Python scripting and some awesome prompting to OpenAI, where we directly achieved identification of both an SSH compromise and a business email compromise. So it's definitely some really good stuff in there. Brian, final words on this one before we sign off for the day.
Yeah, I think everyone pretty much nailed it. I do think it is certainly a net positive for the field within SOC, and it just helps take care of, I think, a lot of kind of smaller stuff, help to pick out some outliers they might have otherwise missed. I mean, is it going to be perfect? Is it, might it miss things? I mean, it's possible, but I mean, you can say the same thing about people too, right? I mean, you're in long into the work week, you've been seeing alerts all week. I mean, it's possible that something might get misanalyzed. You never know. I mean, people make mistakes too. And overall, I do think that applying the AI within that realm is certainly going to be a huge benefit in the long run.
Absolutely. What a great note to finish on. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode of AI Security Ops. It's been good seeing everybody as usual. Stay safe and keep on prompting out there. Bye-bye.